A man scrutinizes the woman before him, quietly sketching her portrait, planning a surprise for her. Suddenly she tears open his chocolate, breaking off a piece and popping it into her mouth. The man is taken aback, and in a bid to assert his presence, he too breaks off a piece and eats it. The woman glances at him disdainfully, then a mischievous smile forms on her lips. She finds the man amusing for feeling so entitled to her chocolate. Glancing at the man, the woman continues to eat the chocolate unyielded, pulling the chocolate closer to herself. The man doesn't back down either. The woman can't help but laugh at their silly tug-of-war, finding joy in their playful battle. Before they can start a conversation, the announcement for the next stop interrupts and the woman gets ready to leave.
It's all yours.
Watching the woman leave, Cameron's lips curl into a smile, still lost in the amusing encounter even as the train starts moving. Soon it's his turn to disembark, and while gathering his things he finds his chocolate still in his pocket, laughing at his own awkwardness earlier. A week later, they meet again on the train. Cameron awkwardly apologizes for the previous incident and presents her with the portrait, shaking hands and making peace, enjoying a pleasant conversation. Just as the woman mentions her approaching stop, Cameron reluctantly says goodbye. But as he turns to leave, he feels a pang of loss, only for the woman to call him back and return the portrait.
Oh no, it's for you. Keep it.
Give it to me again.
Cameron takes the portrait, finding her contact information on the back. Watching her walk away, he feels a childlike joy. Love, so simple in its mutual pursuit, quickly blossoms between them, leading to marriage and a smart, lovely son. Their love, no longer fresh, deepens into a rich and profound bond. One day, Cameron feels dizzy and collapses at home. Months earlier, he was diagnosed with cancer, now spread beyond control, each fainting spell potentially fatal. He wanted to tell his wife, but remembering how she grieved for months over her brother's death, locking herself away for half a year, he hesitates. Knowing her deep value for family and her inability to bear the pain of loss, he feels helpless, witnessing their current blissful life, fearing its shattering with his death. In his moment of despair, Cameron considered the doctor's suggestion to use a clone to continue living his life and providing happiness for his family. At dawn, he boarded a yacht and arrived at a secluded island known to few, where the female doctor had been waiting for him. As the heavy metal door opened, Cameron walked into the basement and saw his clone for the first time. Despite being mentally prepared, he was still shocked by the sight before him. The clone's features and skin color were identical to his own, making it feel as if he was touching his own hand when he shook hands with the clone. However, as he looked at the clone who would take over caring for his wife and child, Cameron was filled with hesitation once again. He feared being replaced and forgotten.
I can't do this.
Returning home, Cameron finds his wife tutoring their son, their happiness bringing a contented smile to his face. However, the next day, when their son inadvertently mentions his deceased uncle, Cameron's expression darkens, looking towards his wife. Despite her attempts to hide her pain, Cameron sees through her facade. He cannot let her suffer again, nor can he leave his child fatherless. Thus, he contacts the doctor once more. To ease his concerns, Cameron wishes to see how other clones live. The doctor introduces him to a female salesperson, unaware of her clone status, yet warmly receptive to Cameron. Most importantly, she shows immense care for her daughter, all of which Cameron observes closely. Returning to the cloning facility, Cameron meets the saleswoman's original, who, like himself, is terminally ill and nearing the end of her life. Cameron shares that her daughter is happy, well cared for by the clone. The saleswoman remains silent, her face showing a subtle mix of jealousy and resignation. Cameron calls his wife, claiming he'll be away on a business trip for a week, starting the handover to the clone. As he reclines in the chair, his memories start to fade, drifting into sleep. In his dreams, fragments of his life flash by: the awkwardness of meeting his wife, their passionate love, the joy at their son's birth, laughter and tears. Waking abruptly from a memory of his wife's heart-wrenching grief over her brother's death, Cameron is shaken. This is the last thing he wants to see. Even as a memory, it disturbs him deeply. After the memory transfer is complete, and while waiting for the clone to awaken, Cameron calls his wife to reassure her. Watching his wife prepare clothes for their soon-to-arrive baby, he suppresses his sorrow, careful not to show any signs of distress. However, while playing a video game remotely with his son, he suddenly convulses and collapses. Fortunately, he manages to turn off the video in the nick of time. The next day, Cameron visits the lab where the doctor is assessing the clone's psychological state. Thinking of his wife and child brings a happy expression to his face, but it vanishes when he sees Cameron. Both are shocked, uncertain how to perceive each other. The clone feels nervous and inferior, knowing the man before him is the real Cameron. Cameron listens silently to the clone's shared sorrows, including the sadness of his parents' divorce and his feelings upon entering the world. The clone inadvertently brings up many painful memories, causing Cameron to feel guilty, as these same memories torment the clone. Despite this, Cameron still seeks to find flaws. At lunch, the clone meticulously picks out the seeds from his food, a habit Cameron doesn't share. Suspicious, Cameron eyes the clone, who quickly offers, "I left them for you." Touched by the clone's kindness, Cameron begins to lower his guard. The real test is next. The clone will speak with his wife. Dialing the phone, the clone initially appears nervous but becomes composed upon seeing her. Unlike Cameron, who is battling cancer, the healthy clone has fewer worries. He engages in lively conversation with his wife, making her laugh, their interaction filled with interesting music. This was something Cameron couldn't do. Watching them chat so happily, Cameron clenched his fist, jealousy and anger seeping into his gaze. Eventually, unable to bear it, he forcefully ended the call, which upset the clone. When confronted by the clone, Cameron admitted, "I don't like this." At this moment, Cameron was emotionally charged, and his condition suddenly worsened, causing him to collapse onto the clone's shoulder. The clone, setting aside their argument, comforted Cameron, proving his kindness matched Cameron's. After Cameron left, the clone felt guilty for not considering his feelings. Once calmer, the clone sought out Cameron to sincerely apologize for his earlier actions. Cameron, understanding the clone as he would himself, humbly acknowledged his own mistakes. Before being officially replaced, Cameron planned a final farewell to his family, but the clone did not wish to see him deteriorate in front of his wife, fearing it would undo all their efforts. The clone, with a pencil in hand, could only hope for the best. Through Cameron's contact lens camera, the clone saw the familiar yet strange sight of his home, his wife and son cooking in the kitchen. But as Cameron approached the door, he felt dizzy and collapsed, convulsing violently. The clone watched the screen anxiously as the video feed cut out, plunging everyone into despair. Fortunately, Cameron narrowly avoided a worse fate, and his wife did not discover him. Struggling back to his car, overwhelmed by the fact that even seeing his wife had become a luxury, Cameron passed out again. As Cameron's health deteriorated, the doctor decided to have the clone replace him sooner and sent a text in Cameron's name, claiming he'd fallen in the bathroom and would return home the next day. When the clone entered his home for the first time, he was greeted by his concerned wife. He downplayed his injuries, assuring her, "It's just a bit painful, but I'm fine." The clone didn't try to overact, instinctively knowing what to do upon seeing his wife. The doctor observed everything and it seemed to go well, except for the family dog which kept barking, sensing that this was not its real owner. Soon after, Cameron awoke, furious to learn the clone had taken his place. However, the doctor's blunt reminder, "You're going to die," brought him back to reality. In the monitoring room, Cameron watched the clone interact with his family. Seeing him play with his son and confide in his wife, Cameron felt a mix of relief and sadness, knowing it was the clone, not him, who was opening his wife's heart. His wife's words, "I can't lose you, I can't live without you," weighed heavily on him. Ashamed, Cameron realized that letting go might be the best thing for his wife. Soon after, the saleswoman's life came to an end in her bed, her love enduring even after her passing. Cameron empathized deeply, sharing a similar fate. As days passed, Cameron noticed the clone turning off the surveillance more frequently, unsettling him. Unsure of the clone's actions and his family's well-being, he was haunted by nightmares of the clone lashing out at their son, waking up to crippling anxiety. One night, Cameron sneaked out of the cloning facility and back home, longing to see his wife and son but fearing exposure. He cautiously entered the study and found exquisitely drawn pictures by the clone, realizing such calmness was needed to create them. Among the drawings, he found an origami, reminiscent of their first meeting. Browsing through the chat history between his wife and the clone, filled with love and warmth, Cameron realized he had misjudged the clone, his face breaking into a smile. The clone entered, signaling silence, and they shared a long, silent gaze. Initially upset, the clone softened upon seeing Cameron's determined and sorrowful eyes. Understanding his frequent surveillance shutdowns must have troubled Cameron deeply. Beyond easing worries, the clone knew a formal farewell was needed, encouraging Cameron to do what he desired. Downstairs, Cameron donned the clone's clothes and wedding ring while the clone hid, allowing Cameron a moment to bid his family goodbye. He woke his sleeping son, feigning a nightmare as an excuse to see him. Together in the living room, they snacked on edamame, pretending the apple juice was beer, in a father's final companionship. Holding his son, tears fell as Cameron realized this was their last moment together. He memorized his son's face, whispering, "I love you," receiving a loving response. After his son drifted back to sleep, Cameron approached his wife. Her concern grew upon seeing his tear-streaked face. He shared his nightmare of losing everything, and she comforted him. When he asked if they were happier now, her affirmative answer brought him peace. Leaving his wife asleep, Cameron returned the ring to the clone, entrusting him with their care. The clone assured him he would. Having let go of his burdens, Cameron returned to the facility to await death peacefully. The doctor informed him that the clone's memories had been erased, making him truly Cameron now. At peace, Cameron was told the clone left him a parting gift, a video message from his wife expressing her eternal love. Cameron knew this love was uniquely his. Despite his impending death, his love for his family remained unshakable. He bore the pain alone for their brighter future, ensuring his love would never be forgotten. Even in death, his legacy of love would persist, immortalized beyond his physical existence. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this.